The Porsche Carrera Cup, guarded by the Bull. Germany's fastest one-make cup visits the Red Bull Ring. The roller coaster track at Spielberg guarantees spectacular racing action. As was the case at the Sachsenring, 3 races will be staged in Austria this weekend instead of the usual 2. Action in the Alps. We're off! Spielberg in October, it's cold. An outside temperature of 4 degrees is unusual for races in Styria. The Carrera Cup usually visits in summer, with the temperatures often close to 30 degrees. The drivers must dress warmly, but more importantly, they must heat up their tires. Tire temperature is crucial. A science in itself, but we have our engineers for that.
It is very complicated, of course, yeah.
Timo Bernhard is aware of that. The former Carrera Cup champion and Le Mans winner is now an ADAC GT Masters team principal. The 39-year-old explains. We can say without question that the tires are the most underestimated part of a racing car. A tire isn't only black and round, it's crucial for performance. In contrast to conventional road tires, racing tires have no profile, at least the dry ones. But these tires only work in the right temperature window, that is, above a certain temperature. They don't work below that temperature. They have even less grip than regular road tires then, but they offer far better performance when they're at the right temperature. All Carrera Cup cars use identical Michelin tires. The teams only get their new sets shortly before qualifying on Saturday. Michelin start to distribute the tires early in the morning. We get a total of 3 new sets of tires per car for qualifying and the 3 races. We roughly adjust the pressure. We label and control the tires. All tires have a barcode to make sure we use the right tire for the right car. Then we set the secret pressure. The engineer calculates it according to the weather forecast, the outside temperature, and so on. We do that with all the tires for all our cars. The engineers must be scrupulous. Tire pressure is one of the few parameters the teams can adjust in the one-make cup. The tricky part is that the tire pressure changes in the course of the race due to outside influences, whereas the car should have the best possible grip over the whole race. 0.01 bar is the smallest unit by which we can adjust the pressure. The engineer painstakingly factors in all kinds of variables. For example, the humidity. At the end of the day, it's about getting the right pressure when the tire is at optimum temperature. The first race at the Sachsenring revealed what happens if the teams fail to find the right pressure. Huber driver Ten Voorde had a comfortable gap, but then his tire performance dropped. Yes, the communication between me and my laptop wasn't ideal. Dylan Pereira caught up, overtook Ten Voorde, and won the race, with the latter finishing second. The pressure in the rear tires was too high, so the car was off balance and he couldn't keep up the pace. The conditions at Spielberg are difficult. It's cold, wet and changeable on a track where tires are delicate. It's difficult to keep up the target pressure of about 1.8 bar. The tire pressure is directly dependent on the temperatures, both inside and outside. The drivers must warm up the tires if it's cold. The drivers try to get the brakes and tires to operating temperature. The brakes heat up the tires via the rim. You can see how the drivers zigzag and brake before the start to heat up the tires. The sooner they achieve it, the better their chances at the start and in the first lap. His driver will be starting from P2 in the first of 3 races, Larry Ten Voorde. The Dutchman won the opener at Le Mans and won 1 race and sealed 2 second places at the Sachsenring. Silverware galore for the 24-year-old. On pole for the first time, Leon Köhler. The 21-year-old was 2.5 tenths faster than his pursuers, a very big gap in the one-make cup. Dylan Pereira will be starting from P3. The Luxembourger introduces us to the Red Bull Ring from a driver's perspective before the start.
So let's go here for a lap at Red Bull Ring, taking a lot of speed out of the last corner, going up until 5th gear and 6th gear sometimes, and shifting down to 3rd gear or here because of the reverse track condition we had. 2nd gear, and looking for a good exit, take care of the track limits, and yeah, take a lot of exit speed for the long straight. Shift up until 6th gear, and just after 150 braking, 1st gear, getting to the apex, having a good exit, take care with the wheel spin on the exit, but having a good exit is important too. Yeah, shifting up until 5th gear here, really tricky. Braking zone, downhill braking zone, and also yeah, rear locking almost. Really important to have a really good exit here too. Be careful on the gravel on the left side. And yeah, now 2 left corners. Normally really understeering, looking to not to brake too late, having good rotation, go early on power. Same for the next corner now. Also 3rd gear. And having a good exit is important too for the next straight. Then 2nd last corner, really important, really fast corner. Normally 4th gear, here because of little rain we use the 3rd gear. Yeah, really fast corner. Also take care on exit here on track limits, and then to finish the lap, just don't brake too late, have a good exit, and finish the lap with success. That was a lap with Dylan Pereira here at Red Bull Ring.
And the start of race 1. The lights go out. Leon Köhler, disaster, stalls his engine. Larry ten Voorde can take the lead. Dylan Pereira P2 and Heinrich is in P3. It was special for me to start from P1. To stall the engine in that situation was a letdown. It just shouldn't happen, especially as I'm in my 2nd Porsche Carrera Cup year. We may have to adjust the clutch so that I can cope better. Let's go on board with Köhler at the start and listen as well as watch. Double figures in terms of the numbers of cars that passed Leon Köhler right at the start. And as you can see, Nicholas Arkenau, the engineer of Larry ten Voorde, watched from the pit lane and could hardly believe what happened. Let's get another angle. And very good avoidance from Dylan Pereira and the likes of all the cars that are behind Leon Köhler to not collect that car. Great driving from them all. Into the Remus corner then for the first time of asking. It's Larry ten Voorde P1, Dylan Pereira P2, and Lauren Heinrich P3 with Julian Hanses in P4 as we're on board with Joey Mawson, who started from P8. Alongside Mawson at that point, Grunewald, and as we pick up turn number 4 now, where you run downhill through this right-hander, the cars 3 abreast, and that means that Grunewald dips wheels into the gravel, which slows him, of course. It costs momentum, and this is Felix Neuhofer. From Austria, local driver, started from P15, making short work of Carlos Rivas and overtaking the Carlos Rivas car. Meantime, Leon Köhler, of course, has got to make his way through the pack following his disaster start. And first of all, in the target sights, it's Jukka Honkavuori. So through on Jukka he goes, and then he would attack Felix Neuhofer. Here is on board with Felix Neuhofer, then with Leon Köhler, setting up a perfect move along the start-finish straight, and next in his target sights, Diego Bertinelli. So a wide line gives him superior exit from turn number 3, and sure enough, he's able to put himself on the inside, overtake, done and dusted. Next in order then will be Kai van Berlo. To the outside he goes, and then we'll switch to the inside. Well, perfect maneuver there going into the final turn on this Red Bull Ring circuit, 4.3 kilometers as Leon Köhler continues to make his way up the order. That was Larry ten Voorde leading the race. Dylan Pereira, however, is right behind him, as you can see from this onboard shot. And Dylan Pereira and Larry ten Voorde go side by side. Big battle going on for the race lead off turn number 3. Heading down towards turn number 4 now, and Dylan Pereira really tracking the Larry ten Voorde car. And Dylan Pereira just got his nose in front. Good defending from Larry ten Voorde. Millimetrically perfect and very fair. But Dylan Pereira has not given up on this and has got the inside line now on Larry ten Voorde. Surely this for the lead of the race. Dylan Pereira puts himself ahead of Larry ten Voorde. I think we both did pretty well. We left one another enough space. The Carrera Cup is a contact sport to some extent. Everybody knows that. It was definitely okay. It was a very fair maneuver. The maneuver wasn't so easy, but it worked out well. I was able to create a gap towards the end. Dylan Pereira continues his winning ways in the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany. The Luxembourger scored his 3rd win of the season in Saturday's race. Larry ten Voorde finished 2nd ahead of Lauren Heinrich. Ten Voorde continues to lead the championship standings. The Huber driver has so far earned 110 points. Behind him are Pereira, 104, and Köhler, 71. It is unquestionably one of the most beautiful backdrops to a racing circuit anywhere in Europe, perhaps even the world. Lauren Heinrich for race 2 on Sunday morning goes from pole position for the first time in his Porsche Carrera Cup Germany career. He set the fastest lap in qualifying. Alongside him, Dylan Pereira will be going from P2. Buoyed with the confidence of the success in race 1, he will be a danger man going into turn number 1, have no doubt. And going from P3 on the grid, Larry ten Voorde, championship leader. And Christoph Huber is Larry ten Voorde's team principal, and he gives us the thumbs up from the pit wall ahead of the start of the race. So the start sequence underway once again. A very good start from Larry ten Voorde and a good start from Dylan Pereira, but Lauren Heinrich doing very well as well. Is he going to be muscled out of P1? Yes, he is, because Dylan Pereira goes through turn number 1. I said he would be a danger man right at the start of the race. P2 on the grid does give you the inside line if you can get good momentum off the start, and sure enough he did, but Dylan Pereira is being pursued now into turn 3. Lauren Heinrich fighting back around the outside. Larry ten Voorde ready to pick up the pieces. Let's go on board with Kai van Berlo to the inside now of Stefan Rakoff in the number 33 car. Little rub between the two of them. And as we run into turn number 4, Pereira and Heinrich side by side. Behind them, a big battle going on as we go on board with Julian Hanses. And too late on the brakes is Joey Mawson. And that, regrettably, bad news for Julian Hanses. Meantime, Pereira and Heinrich remain side by side. Larry ten Voorde in P3. As I mentioned earlier, he's just ready to pounce the more these two fight. Dylan Pereira has got P1 now. Ten Voorde on the outside of Heinrich. Can ten Voorde go all the way around the outside to pick up P2 as Dylan Pereira tries to escape up the road in P1? I knew from the off it would be hard against experienced drivers like Dylan and Larry behind me. They came at me on the first lap, I have to accept it. That's clear. Dylan Pereira, Larry ten Voorde. Then it's Lauren Heinrich and Leon Köhler now is P4. Bear in mind that he started from P6 at the start of the race. Let's go on board now with the Pro-Am driver Stefan Rakoff, who overtakes the fellow Pro-Am driver Matthias Jeserich. On board with Julian Hanses. So he's approaching turn number 1 now and really takes a lot of curb in turn number 1. And this in slow motion replay as Julian Hanses then on the inside of Matthias Jeserich through turn number 1. Go back to some of our brilliant onboard shots now. This is Diego Bertinelli being passed by Jukka Honkavuri. And on board the Diego Bertinelli car, And this then is Stefan Raykopf. So trying to go through on the inside of Stefan Raykopf. Julian Hanses desperately trying to make his way back up the order in this race 2 of the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany. Looking back from the Julian Hanses car at Stefan Raykopf as they approach this very difficult Remus turn, which is turn number 3 at the Red Bull Ring. This is Jukka Honkavuri, who's fighting with Lucas Oertel. Lucas Oertel there to the left-hand side of our onboard picture. And king of the late breakers going into this right-hander, Honkavuri gets the overtake done on Lucas Oertel. Julian Hanses continuing his fight to go forward, overtaking Carlos Rivas. This is for P12. And Stefan Raykopf, of course, is right behind them. And under braking, as we can see from Stefan Raykopf, he gets a little bit closer to Carlos Rivas. So the order in the race is Dylan Pereira, P1, Larry ten Voorde, P2. Then a real battle going on for P3 between Heinrich and Köhler. And this battle would intensify. So now you can see Heinrich, watch here, runs onto the gravel. That gravel is propelled like missiles into the Leon Köhler car, which has damaged the radiator. Now you can see Köhler, who tries to brake, but there's fluid coming out of the radiator. And Köhler in all sorts of strife as a consequence of that. And here we can see in slow motion as Heinrich ran through the gravel. Certainly nothing deliberate in it. It was just one of those racing things, and they were fighting very closely. And of course, Leon Köhler in all sorts of strife now. And to take advantage is one Mr. J. Hanses as Julian goes by the stricken number 77 car. It will be P8 for Julian Hanses in the end. And of course, the team look on despondently from the pit wall. However, Dylan Pereira underlining his title ambitions with a convincing victory. Checkered flag falls. It will be second place to Larry ten Voorde. P3 for Heinrich, reaching the flag in third place as the best driver from the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany talent pool, the One Make Cup's youth development program. The first thing was to have a good getaway so I could pass Heinrich, but I had to build up momentum for the next turn so he couldn't reclaim his position. Larry ten Voorde still leading the championship by 1 point. Of course, I want to finish first, but P2 was just the maximum. It's tighter in the championship now, but we'll see how it unfolds. It was the same in the Porsche Super Cup. Lauren Heinrich seals his second Porsche Carrera Cup podium after the opener at Le Mans. His fellow T3 HRT driver Leon Köhler was out of luck. Köhler had to stop his 911 shortly after the home straight. I was torn at the end. Should I head to the pit box or not? I decided to go ahead and finish the last 2 minutes, and that's what I did. Proof that small details can decide races. A few small stones got into my cooler, and then it burst. I noticed it when I next braked, when the track went straight on. The problem is, we lose water when the cooler is broken. And if we brake at a high speed and water just hits the tires, they're very cold. It's like driving on ice then. We only go straight then. At the end of the day, it was damage limitation. I tried to stop the engine as soon as possible so it could cool down. But it was too late. So the T3 HRT crew have 4 hours to solve the problem. The engine got too hot. We first thought we'd only have to change the oil. The data didn't suggest it was so bad. When we were finished, we saw there was a crack in the engine, so we had to replace the engine on the spot, in the tent. It was a great team performance by the lads. We're done now, and we're hoping that the work has paid off. Fortunately, Köhler can go on. He aims to score a podium finish in the last race after his mistake in race 1 and the burst cooler in race 2. But he has another problem on the starting grid. Steam can be seen, the car is losing water. The team have to act fast. we replaced the engine between the two races. We extracted the air with a special machine. It worked well, but there must have been some air left. When Leon arrived on the grid, he got a warning. Water level. It wasn't right. And when we open the bonnet and the engine is hot, a lot of water runs out before we can add new water. Lauren Heinrich got to the pole without problems, just as in the second race. But Köhler's new cooler needs a few litres of fresh water shortly before the start. Is it enough? Let's see. Race 3 held on Sunday afternoon. On board the splitter cam of Dylan Pereira, starting from P3, Larry ten Voorde P2 and Heinrich P1. Pereira, with a perfect start this time around the outside, picks up the lead. On board Felix Neuhofer, coming together with Georgi Donchev, who spins. For the first time of asking, we're approaching the Ramus turn. Pereira in front of Heinrich. Hanses trying to overtake ten Voorde around the outside here. Let's go on board with Lucas Gronefeld. Now, Lucas Oertel is outside, but at this point, Gronefeld gets a hit from the inside and therefore rattles into the side of Lucas Oertel, which is bad news for Oertel, who ends up in the gravel, and that's bad news for the race because it means the safety car has to be deployed. Let's get a replay here from Dan van Kuijk. Joey Mawson it is then that hits Gronefeld. So as we get the start underway once again, Dylan Pereira leading through turn number 1. On board with Dan van Kuijk, and Joey Mawson then hits Jesse van Kuijk, and Jesse van Kuijk goes wide, and we could see that from being on board. In slow motion here you can see Mawson and Dan van Kuijk nose to tail. Dylan Pereira leading with a good margin over Heinrich, who's P2, ten Voorde is P3, and Köhler is P4. This is Kai van Berlo that we're on board with now. He's fighting with Diego Bertinelli. Plenty of fights going on in the Carrera Cup, as always. Good move here. Potentially so. So through the final turn, here we can see in replay then, Bertolini catching one of the advertising hoardings. Let's see it from on board with Bertinelli, just catching the edge of it. This is Larry ten Voorde that we're on board with now. And this is Leon Köhler right behind Larry ten Voorde that we were with but a second or so ago. Through the Remus turn, where you continue to climb uphill on the exit of the turn. Carlos Rivas wins all 3 races at the Red Bull Ring in the Pro-Am category. And this is Leon Köhler right behind Larry ten Voorde. Is he going to be able to overtake the Dutchman? Larry ten Voorde, the car you can see from this camera shot. And Leon Köhler does go through on Larry ten Voorde. This is for P3. Ten Voorde, though, fights back as they head down towards turn number 4. But sure enough, Leon Köhler secures that position. And this is what it looks like from the angle of Larry ten Voorde. And in replay then, this is where he began to set up the move. And you could see that Larry ten Voorde perhaps made a mistake there. And that just left the inside line open. And Köhler did not need 2 invitations. And now he's after Lauren Heinrich. So they go through the turn number 3. On board with Heinrich looking back at the Leon Köhler car. Dylan Pereira staying focused. The first to see the checkered flag. Ahead of Heinrich after some 21 laps. His teammate Leon Köhler crossed the finish line in 3rd. Pereira now leads the series with 154 points, ahead of ten Voorde on 146 points. Good day at the office then for Dylan Pereira. I lost a lot of points at Le Mans, unfortunately, but I've reclaimed a whole lot now. I turned in a good performance. I am back. Lauren Heinrich, 3 times on the podium in Spielberg. I'm mega happy. I never expected that. 3 podium finishes in 3 races. Truly superb. And towards the end, I upped the ante. A superb weekend. His teammate Leon Köhler, third, only to be disqualified after the race due to his vehicle's non-compliance with technical regulations. The car was 4 kilograms too light, probably because of lost cooling water. As a consequence, 24-year-old Ten Voorde inherits P3. For the next 2 races, the Porsche Carrera Cup Germany travels with the ADAC GT Masters to the Lausitzring. The track in Brandenburg replaces the original venue at the Circuit Zandvoort due to the increasing number of coronavirus cases in the Netherlands.